My best league memory? I think it was when I hit Diamond in Season 3. Because I used to play on a really bad internet and a laptop with low FPS. So I didn't really play much ranked. When Zed came out, I got really hooked on, the whole outplaying people, solo kills, just beating other people, and I started spamming ranked. And then I was able to climb from Gold 5 to Diamond 1 in like half a year. And when I hit Diamond 5 is when I realized like, oh shit, I can do this. Like that felt really good. Because that's the first time I really put a lot of effort into improving in something. I would describe myself as kinda serious, sometimes over the top. I try to always be serious and act as professional as I can. Even if it's playing or just like working out or cleaning my room. I just try to do everything properly. I would say that I'm a competitive person, yeah. I mean, the reason I got into esports was just the feeling of beating other people. It felt really good. But back when I was only playing solo queue.
Dead is so low. They're trying to keep him alive, but they find the shutdown. Mothers will finally fall, but Chrisberg 4 HP. Nolty gets knocked up.
The kind of words I try to live by is always try and listen to people, no matter how dumb something may sound. Like if someone has like a completely different opinion of me, at least try and listen and understand where they're coming from.
Because you have all these posts coming in from the court.
Oh my god, that's the bomb we're just talking about.
Welcome back, everyone. Back to the Battle of Norway. Riddle against Nordavind. A fight that goes back to ancient times, 2 years ago, where Riddle and Nordavind played a best-of-5 Telenor League in 2018 Autumn split, going to Nordavind. And this is a rivalry in Norway that's existed ever since. It's been a very unfair rivalry though, because Nordavind has been taking a lot of the games. If anyone saw their trash talk tweet before the game went on today. But if we're looking at Riddle today against Nordavind, I think they finally have the pieces of their roster. If they're not playing cocky like they did against Godsend last week, because that did look like solo queue from Riddle, I think they have the puzzle pieces to finally even out this rivalry.
Okay, let's Battle of Norway aside.
I can't follow that.
Let's relish in the Battle of Norway for just a moment. Just take it in, just absorb it. What is it about Riddle? I've seen a Riddle that have been up and down this entire split. They've either been Smurf or they've actually just been running it down, like, quite literally. What is it about Riddle that they need to shore up to ensure that they are at the full strength of their roster that needs from them?
I think we saw it against BTXL. We had a Riddle lineup that actually played with respect, and they actually knew what they were doing going into the draft phase. They even prepared the Vayne, going into how they wanted to play with the solo lanes, the pressure coming in from Maxi. It was overall just calculated, a nice play coming in from Riddle. Now looking when they played against Godsend, it looked like they were cocky. They felt like they were the better players. No preparation in draft. It was just solo queue game going all the way through. So I want Riddle today to prove that they can play like they did against BTXL every game and not just seem like some cocky a-holes who wants to prove that, haha, we can just do whatever we want.
I think it's just about time. You said that they have the pieces of their roster that they can achieve greatness, or now that it feels like this matchup has swung into their favor. But you gotta shake off some of that solo queue mentality, some of the fact that they feel that they can just brute force their way to victory, and it won't be until they actually run into tougher opponents that they're really tested on that. So I think over the course of the split, it is something to watch this team in terms of their development, and not necessarily how many wins they're picking up, but are they moving together as a team? Are they playing around like the 100% guaranteed plays? Are they playing respectful? I love that word that you used.
And that would be a team that Nordavind has shaped up to be, right? Their opponents. At the start, we had so many questions. What is the identity of Nordavind? They came in, the draft was a little bit sloppy. We didn't know if they wanted to play through their all-star, Chrisberg. This guy is like top in the league for CS per minute, top in the league for global gold. He's just literally a funnel of gold, and oh, does he make it work when he get these resources. We're talking about a bot-centered meta. Chrisberg will make it work for you. If I could be a commercial, I would be a Chrisberg commercial right now, because this guy is worth funneling all this gold into, right? He can carry. And now that Nordavind has found their identity, they found the way to play towards him, I feel like they can come up with victories. They played against Ends, they played played against Singularity, you beat them, sure, but these are the lower end teams in the bracket. They're the two teams that are sitting completely at the bottom with no wins right now. So here's how you need to prove that you're good. You know, Riddle have beat BTXL. You lost to BTXL as Nordavind. So now by beating Riddle, you're pretty much going to be beating the #1 team in the group. So if they can prove that you know, they can get fruit out of the CRISPR tree, I think this is the matchup to do it in.
Yeah, I think that Nordavind really learned a lesson playing against BTX though, because up until that point, they looked like a team that was ready to rise for the challenge, and it actually looked like they gradually improved every time they played. They hadn't improved enough when they played against BTXL, but I think that was a perfect warm-up game going into this Battle of Norway that I've hyped up before, because this does mean a lot for the organizations too. Like, we saw how they trash talk each other and how they went after each other, and I think this schedule fits Nordavind quite perfectly, because they have learned a lot from their loss against BTXL, and rather that than you just get stomped 2 times in a row.
Okay, I've got a spicy question for you, and actually it's mainly aimed at you, Trouble. You kind of hyped up CRISPR a little bit there, and obviously kind of put him in as the premier carry for Nordavind. Do we think CRISPR
The premier
is
carry
the best
of the
carry?
league. He has the
well,
most
this is the point.
gold.
This is the point. Do you think he's like strictly the best AD carry in the league?
When he's given the resources, yes. Do I think he's the guy who's going to make the risky plays to make the resources? No. I think that would be most likely someone like Unforgiven, who goes and gets these, you know, 50-50s, and maybe he comes across as the winner and then he completely snowballs his lead, or then he makes a mistake and then he's able to turn it around like we saw in the previous game. So do I think he's that star quality player? Yes. Do I feel like he's gonna push the whole team there? Not necessarily. I feel like if the team hangs him, he can raise to the occasion.
I just want to say real quick that I've did the math, and 5 Danes is better than 1 last time I checked. So the math checks out. So Riddle does look like they're having an edge here.
Okay, 5 Danes against 1. Let's see if that translates into drafting power as well. We'll go to a quick break. When we come back, we'll be into picks and bans.
Waking up, the sun is rising. We can go anywhere, do anything. Put your hand in my hand, let's explore. Travel places no one's been before. Leave your fears and hear you calling. Wherever you go, wherever you are, your beauty's unique. So sweet, our differences make our union so great. Together we perfect harmony. Perfect harmony. Together we will be perfect harmony. Let's get lost in a forest of green. Lose ourselves in the blue of the sea. Paint the world any color we choose, or a rainbow with all of the hues. Make the world the way that we dream. Wherever you go, wherever you are, your beauty's unique. The melody's so sweet. Our differences make our union so great. Together we perfect harmony.
The Battle of Norway picks and bans. It is underway, and already Aphelios removed from the pool on blue side, no less.
Wow.
And that is going to be Riddle taking that off the board.
I wonder why.
They really are scared of that guy. You were right. Okay, interesting. So it looks like they want a jungle rotation on second rotation red side. I think that they're either going to get Syndra, Kalista, or Varus. Like, that's what's happening, because one of those... Oh, no, they're banning Kalista from blue side. Oh, no.
Yeah, don't know if Ray has been playing too much of that.
Pulled the Senna Wukong into the Varus like we saw Mad Lions. They pulled that last week, but they weren't able to execute on it because they were getting picked on that. So I was about to say the Varus could go untouched right there in the hands of Nordavind, and they could try to reply with it again. I don't know why they would do that blue side, because they would just snatch the Varus away. But I was just leaving it there as a possibility.
I think there's any way that you give Senkux Syndra. Sorry, Goldberg, go.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that something we really didn't point out is going to be the jungle matchup here. I went a little bit memey, but I do believe that Maxi is one of the better junglers in the league too, and that he's extremely good, especially on these carry junglers too. And the matchup between him and Naughty is going to be pivotal for who's actually coming out on top here, I believe. Because the Naughty has shown two styles where he actually played the Grace himself, and he's been showing the style where he plays for his lane, can even flex the Wukong towards the jungle. But we have seen a pick and ban phase here, heavily targets towards Chrisberg from Riddle, and it does look like we're seeing some standard bans coming out from Nordavind. So a bit more respect actually from Riddle. That's a good start, and I like it. Question is, are they going to just pick up the Ezreal here for Ray, who's been, you know, a classic OTP on this, or it's not going to be Oriana? Okay.
Okay, they are drafting like Mad Lions. You go for the Ori blind pick because you're fine trading the different bot lanes. So you assume that you're going to give the other side the Ezreal, Yuumi, Ezreal, Karma, whatever it is you're going to run. And then the question is what bot lane do they feel confident taking into that? Do you take like a more scaling oriented bot lane, or do you grab, oh, they're going to give it away. Do you perhaps grab the Ezreal Yuumi here?
I have a theory. I have a theory that they're going to give the Ezreal Yuumi over, and they're going to go for something like a hard hyper carry late game, such as the Kai'Sa or the Kog'Maw. Now, Chrisberg played it in the 2019 summer finals of the Nordics. He did play the Juggernaut, and I know that he does like to play the Kog'Maw in general. And we just talked about how the Q and the R were also buffed, so that could add into the mixed damage that Kog'Maw can provide later into the fights. So there could be a possibility right here, because you also have the Azir that can provide you sort of the distance that you want from the enemy team.
And I was going to say, Thresh has just been left open here. We talked about the disengage with you and how we wanted to be playing it safe. But if you want to shut down lanes, or if you want to roam with this Ezreal, you got the potential here with this Thresh. Coming into it, though, Chrisberg was known for his Kai'Sa all the time. He doesn't go with that, though. He is opting in for the Misfortune. He did play that the first week, the first day of Nordics. So it's not a champion we haven't seen him on before.
I was hoping for something like an Ashe, maybe even a Sivir. We've seen the Sivir kind of flying around the LEC. I'm not a huge fan of Misfortune. I'm glad that you bring about like his comfort on the pick. For whatever reason, I just feel like Misfortune in this comp, like technically pros really love her because she's like a ball of stats is what they say, and that you can out-poke people depending on what your matchup is. So they're gonna have to ban Yuumi and probably Karma here, because they would pair really well with Misfortune if they just want to be absolute lane bullies here. But like that's her whole thing. Like you kind of poke, you lay down the ultimate, but I hate that champ.
A lot of respect being given over to Maxi, as Gulborg said, with the Nidalee and the Graves being taken away. Maxi is likely one of the most mechanical junglers that we have. You know, he loves to play the likes of Nidalee and Graves. He's very aggressive and generally can outmatch most of his jungle opponents. Nolty, there has been question marks about. People have given some question marks over Nolty's performances over the league the last few days. I think this is going to be the biggest mismatch with Nordavind and Riddle. They're really, really paying respect to Maxi, trying to kind of zone him out in terms of picks.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was a Leona ban right here. I'm not necessarily sure how the Azir and the Misfortune are going to act together in the same team. I understand that the second you see the Orianna, you're going to be thinking in your head, they're going to need some hard engage, they're going to need some ball delivery into our team. So having Azir to throw them back out straight away would possibly help us. But the range on the Misfortune is not necessarily that high. So if the Azir ultimate goes down, you won't necessarily be able to auto-attack anymore with the Misfortune, and you might find yourself in a bit of a pickle right there, or just have to use the ultimate straight away. So I just want to see in general when they go into game how the two characters are going to act with each other.
Yeah, it's gonna, oh no, not that. Okay. Braum Misfortune. So Braum really empowers the 3v3 bot side. I'm assuming it's going to be a Volibear jungle and not a Volibear top lane. But you're against Ezreal Thresh, like, you're never going to kill that. You have Death Sentence, you have Arcane Shift. I don't know about this one. I am not favoring this this right side draft.
Do it. Yes!
Yes, I kind of want to see that too. Now we can opt it out for a blind pick coming in here. GP still up and available if they want to go for that. Later today, we talked about Nard did see some buffs, and Doxy used to be one of these guys that actually like playing Nard, so that is still an opportunity for them too if they want to blind pick that. Now remember that the Volibear here is still a flex, so if they end up blind picking a champion like Nard, they could still let Momus be a complete menace with something like Aurelia into that, but they are going for the safer one, blind pick GP here.
I love this. I'm a big advocate of Nocturne. I love Nocturne. The fact that he just completely lights out and you can't see anything on the map is just my absolute favorite. And it's a pretty much free bolt delivery in the backline. You've got the magic shield, so you can't get interrupted by any Azir shenanigan ultimates right there. So straight on top of the backline without any interrupt with double shield on you. This is extremely powerful.
And I like the fact that they're going for Wukong here. I feel like because you see the Nocturne, because you see all of the level 6 power options on the left side of your screen, you needed to have something to contest for the wave priority and top and mid, so this Volibear can actually get aggressive on Nocturne. Oh no, is it Wukong jungle?
I was gonna say, I think you're not familiar with our boy Nolty here.
Oh, it's getting worse for me right now.
I mean, if you're walking into the 3v3, Wukong clones and proccing Braum passive. You know what? That goes fast if he goes onto you, because he helps proc that.
I don't disagree, but it's just like, it's Ezreal Thresh. How do you break it?
I'm just trying to be the devil's advocate.
No, they've switched back. They've
switched back. Okay.
Yeah.
Whew. Okay, well, I take back everything I said. This is a better placement for the champions.
Yeah. Okay, guys.
This is the sorry.
No, I'm just gonna say I was gonna let it sit, let it just sort of mull over a little bit, because we are ready to jump into the game with our casters, Orcs and Hiprain. It's a Nocturne jungle.
It's spooky time, everybody, as we get into game number 3 of the day. The Nocturne in the jungle. It's been so long since we've seen that, Orcs. What the hell's going on?
Yeah, a little bit of a wild one. I know Riddle have definitely been the sort of team who are willing to bring out some more of these out there picks. We saw the Vayne coming out from Rai, and they have been a little bit more versatile with what they're willing to take. I think ultimately, when you're dealing with something like an Azir that traditionally is such a safe champion, really a cornerstone of the meta, where as much as his pressure and lane in terms of priority is good, as much as his scaling is good, very hard to punish. This might actually be a champion that can do it. Nocturne can dive onto the Azir. You have the spell shield to block the ultimate from the Azir, the Emperor's Divide. And then the shockwave on top can be really threatening to these backline carries. And essentially, if that's the game plan, trying to dive the Azir and make him fall significantly behind, yeah, I respect it from Riddle.
Well, we're loading through onto the Rift for our third game of the day. It's the Battle of Norway. Riddle versus Nordavind. These two teams are currently in a 4-way tie for first place, and a win here will put them one up. The next game after this will be BTXL versus Singularity, another one of those teams in that 4-way tie currently. So we'll have to see how that goes later on in the day. Let's talk a little bit about these teams and their play styles, Orcs. I was talking a little bit about Nordavind's bot lane, because normally we want to see them pick like a power bot lane. And in theory, obviously, like Foscarin was saying, Misfortune is kind of seen as this ball of stats, but when you've got the Braum tied up to that into an Ezreal Fresh, this doesn't really feel to me like a power bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, not completely, but I think there's a little bit of comfort for both members. Chrisberg has heavily lent on the MF when it suits him, and Bebop Bully, last split in particular in the Nordics, would play a lot of Braum, sometimes in situations that weren't super favorable, but sometimes it would work out well. And ultimately, it makes the skirmishing good once you land the Winter's Bite. Obviously, you have to follow up with the CC, and it can cause some issues if Riddle overcommit, but ultimately, you're not going to be able to provide as much instantaneous pressure. Something like the Nautilus could engage onto the Thresh and start the fight, where really here the Braum is there to follow up and cause issues after the fight's already started to develop.
Who's going to leave the bush first? Doxy is the one to get out into the lane. I'm just quite happy just waiting out for the moment.
Oh, I got them all. Oh, that was so nice to see.
That was actually very, very satisfying to watch.
Just play for the minions. Don't bother taking too much harass. As the typical thing is with Gangplank, obviously can put a lot of hit into you.
All right, well, the junglers both started up and are doing a full clear upwards. Both started on this bot lane. Now, I want to see where Nolty's going to look to gank first. It does look like Nordavind do get priority in lane as they hit level 2 first, and they just zone Ryan Wonderbow off the wave momentarily, but it is going to crash, though. They're not going to be able to get too much more. Every time we look mid lane, though, Ericsson is getting poked into Senkuk. Senkuk struggling early here into the Azir.
Actually, you saw it there where the Q from Orianna didn't even actually connect with Ericsson, so... I mean, typically you have the range advantage of the Azir over the Orianna, so there is that factor. You're also going to have more priority in terms of just being able to shove with the soldiers, not shoulders, and cut through the wave. Typically, we've seen Senkuk be quite aggressive in the laning phase and look to challenge the enemy mid.
He's done a pretty decent job to kind of trade with Doxy. Obviously, Doxy has that level 3, so he has the orange. Nolty is going to get priority over on
Look at
Crab
this
and
roam here
Maxi.
from Bebop.
Looks like they're going to go for this. They're actually moving everybody over. Maxi has to be so careful. Nordavind just have so many members about, and Maxi, he just says, nah, you know what? I don't want anything to do with that, and steps away.
I mean, I'm glad he did, because if he went into that situation when Bebop bullies there, it would have been really bad. Not sure if they spotted him on the rotation over, but a very aggressive roam from Bebop, ultimately, to move all the way up there to secure the scuttle. But when it comes down to a Nocturne who's obviously playing for that level 6, denying him as many camps as possible, with the scuttle crabs being a large element of that, is really important. And with the wave position in bot lane, we actually saw Crispr get a cheetah recall, was able to reset, pick up another Doran's, and ultimately didn't really miss out on anything. So it was really good timing for a roam. So got to give credit to Bebop Bully in that situation.
It's actually missing pretty much all of these minions under the tower. I don't think you got a single one there.
Well,
that's pretty rough.
You know, the play was good. The CS thing maybe not so good.
They're feeling that a little bit.
Oh, and Mama's just missed that cannon as well, so...
Ooh. Doxy has a pretty big wave shoving into him. There is a level advantage currently, but Mama's just getting completely bullied out as Doxy actually looks to hold the wave here just outside his tower, and that is rough now for Mumus.
Yeah, I think Mumus has to TP back in to break this freeze, because he's not strong enough with that HP to match Doxy. Doxy managed to get a reset off and a buy. So, I mean, this is the power of what we call the cheetah recalls, which is when you shove the wave in and get a chance to reset before the other person pushes out to the tower. You get that extra power, which right now is Doran's Blade for Doxy, and it forces Mumus's TP. He can't leave the wave frozen there, otherwise he'd be denied heavily, so he TPs in to crash the tower. So sure, he fixes the problem, but this cost him his teleport, which means that Doxy now has that advantage over him. And considering there's also the cannon barrage. Yeah, there you go.
Doxy's got it all. Obviously, yeah, like I said, doesn't have his cannon barrage yet, but even so.
When he has it, I think is the big thing. It means there's so much global pressure from Riddle that already is when you have the Nocturnal, but combine that with cannon barrage and TP advantage top, it is going to make making plays for Nordavind quite difficult. And when they have a champion like an MF who spikes very early, stacking a lot of Dorans, does make it tricky. So good movement here, actually using the priority bot lane, contesting the dragon before we see an opportunity for Maxi's level 6 to come in, or the cannon barrage. I think you wait another level and that could be something that Riddle looked to contest.
And crazy thing is, you know, we were saying there's not much kill pressure in this bot lane. A fresh Ezreal too hard to catch, but Nordavind, they're just happy shoving in the wave, getting a priority, and then rotating and turning that into objectives. Bebop with that early roam to make sure that Nolty was able to kind of pull ahead in the jungle a little bit. Chrisberg with the cheetah recall as well, getting himself the extra Dorans. Just overall, pretty solid stuff for Nordavind's bot side. The top lane is suffering. Pretty much expected in this matchup, and now Maxi actually looking to go for a gank onto Doxy. They have that cannon barrage. Mumus already low. This could just be an easy first blood. He actually gets him with a clone, and Doxy cues the wrong minion. That forces Maxi to flash, and Mumus actually survives. He dodges away. Mumus played that so well. As Nolty now hunting onto Maxi. Doxy does have the barrels to place and the slows, but in comes Ericsson with the soldiers, with the backup, and this should just be the turnaround. First blood over to Ericsson.
Just beautifully played there by Mummas. I thought he was dead for right. And OC
They flash
here.
forward. Chrisberg actually goes over. He's going to get the concussive blows off. And Rai gets the hook. He gets out free. Can they get the damage? No, they cannot. Wendelbo now is the one who gets stunned up. Riddle. What a turnaround in the bot side. But now Senkuks is coming down. This game is so many people playing this so crazily as the shockwave lands onto Bebop. Exhaust instantly onto Senkuks. And now he's going to get stunned up by the concussive blows. Chrisberg still not level 6. Doesn't even have the mana even if he was. What is going on?
Such a close back and forth here. I mean, top lane, I thought Mummas was for sure gone. And then a similar state in the bot side. Rai was so close to death. Chrisberg flashing over the flay was really nice, but then it was beautiful from Wendelbo with the hook, and he flashes in front of the Winter's Bite from Bebop Bully to ensure his AD carry gets out. And a similar thing, you saw Senkuks flashing in for Bebop Bully. He gets the Winter's Bite down, the stun stacked up from Chrisberg, and it's just both teams trying to find that window and just not being able to. And a little bit of an answer back in return. I mean, we expected this to be close.
Yeah. This game is delivering. Goldberg was excited about it. The wave is pretty big, and it is going to shove into Mummas, so I think he's quite happy just sitting in the bushes. Will be spotted out by that control ward, so Doxy at least knows where he is, but I don't think he feels overly comfortable actually stepping up here and contesting it more, so he's just going to shove the wave in. There is a significant lead in CS as Doxy going to roam over to make sure him and his team can get this Rift Herald. Wendelbo's already rotated up, and actually they've kept Rai bot lane. So both the AD carries are just going to stay down. It looks like Nordavind, they're not even going to contest this. Though Nulty wants it.
I mean, they now have mid-priority, but you got to see Rai's roamed up and Gate comes in.
Good hook into the flay. They are going to use a Stormbreaker. The True Shot Barrage goes through, and Maxi able to secure the kill. Riddle, it is going to reset, but they can just go back to business and pick that up. A great hook there by Wendelbo. He is looking very good on the fresh right now.
And I think you're right there, Jake. They aren't going to contest this, and yet they still try to move in on it. I mean, ultimately, Mummas was top lane and he wasn't moving. Chrisberg was bot lane and not moving, and yet still Bebop Bully steps up, and it's just a free kill on top of the Herald handed over. So a little bit of mistake there. I think it's fine if you're just opting not to contest the Herald. I don't think you can contest every single one. And dealing with the waves on the side of the map can be more important. It allows Mummas to catch up and farm. And you can see in the bot lane, it's allowed Chrisberg to build a lead. But handing over the kill makes me question it a little bit more.
Chrisberg just stepping up, going to push out this wave. He has got Bebop waiting in the wings behind him. It looks like for now, Rai is just going to be playing safe underneath his tower. It is an Ezreal. Ezreal's so hard to lock down. He's always such a solid kind of solo laner in the bot lane at times, enabling Wendelbo to move around the map. Now, second Drake will be spawning up in 30 seconds. It's an Ocean Drake. We'll see whether or not there's some attention going down for that. Nordavind were able to pick up the first one. And a potential Dragon Soul could be big for whoever can get it.
Absolutely, especially when there's scaling elements to both compositions here. I think the edge does go over to Riddle, but there is strong aspects in terms of the Azir on the side of Nordavind that you still have to be a little bit concerned about. So a Soul can absolutely just turn that heavily in your favor. And it's going to be Mountain or Infernal. So Infernal, I feel like, is the more valuable one, but Mountain still has a lot of strength, especially when you're going to have Rai in the back line with Niceborn Gauntlet and Death Stance. As he's picked up an extra Sapphire Crystal, we know it's going to be the Gauntlet. Actually, we don't, because he could go Sheen into Triforce. Never mind, but could be the Gauntlet, but either way is likely going to be the Death Stance, and then Senkuks as well. Just makes him even harder to punish.
Wendelbo looking for a potential hook here. The crab spawns up, and it looks like Riddle are going to get this. So it gives him some permanent vision to play around. Senkuks roaming over as well as Nulty actually jumping in forward, uses that ultimate. They're jumping in. They get the Glacial Fissure down. Maxi caught out. The Shockwave lands onto one, and Senkuks is sent packing. Nordavind find their pick. Meanwhile, top lane has a dead monkey.
Yeah, and don't think they're going to contest this now. TP not available for Doxy means they can't equalize the numbers. It's a good skirmish from Nordavind. Nulty going with
no smite, by the way. No smite, no smite! That was close.
Way too close for comfort. But ultimately, they get the dragon, they got the kill. The power of the Braum in these skirmishes is big, but Mummas going down in the 1v1. a little bit concerning, considering the scaling power off the Gangplank already, giving him an early lead, and the ability to solo kill this Wukong. It's not a good spot for the game, and it's a worrying omen as it ticks along. One thing to make note of, though, Maxi still hasn't used that Paranoia. You know, it's the core ability that you essentially pick Nocturne for. Obviously, he has skirmishing and dueling power, but ultimately the Paranoia, that spike at level 6, is such a massive factor, and he's level 8 and he still is yet to press that R button.
Well, he might be looking to do it now. Mumus, just be a little careful. Maxi, sitting in the bushes, does have the Rift Herald in his back pocket. It's about to time out, so they need to make a play happen. Mumus uses the clone. Now that's going to be the fear on. He flashes away. Maxi secures the fear and secures the kill. Doxy with his second. This should just be a Herald placed in the top lane and a potential tower, to be honest. They've got a little bit of time before that Herald times out. If they can get a plate here first,
Oh, demolish, definitely,
tower.
yeah.
Demolish, got it.
Yeah, just a really nice play. He's not rushing into the ult, and I think that is one aspect, is when you keep the Paranoia available, the pressure fit is always there. So it's not that I disagree with his ult, it's just I'm waiting to see where the first impact comes out. Sure, maybe he could have got one out sooner and had the cooldown running, but this positioning where he takes Mumus out, gets another kill for Doxy, and then on top of that, manages to get the Herald down in the first tower for him, it's really setting his Gangplank into a good spot. And it's going to become a bit of a sore spot for Nordavind, who now have to deal with one of these scaling elements of Riddle being unlocked way earlier than it should be. Triforce already completed for Doxy.
Now, there's only a little thing due to, obviously, that tower healing. They did get the second charge, though, onto the tier 2. So there's a bit of a chip away, and potentially if another opening onto Mumus comes up, that could be punished into another tower. Obviously, it will be regenning over this time, though. However, now you can see Nolty making his way down towards his bot side, seeing if he can make something happen onto this fresh Ezreal. It's so hard to lock them down, though. Although they are on awards, they will see them. The Glacial Fissure connects onto Wendelbow, goes instantly golden. Teleports are coming in. The fight looks to break out. That's the bullet time for an instant secure on the kill. Nolty just jumps back, and Crisberg's looking to run away. Bebop has been picked up, and Doxy is chasing for kills. Catches on to Crisberg. Crisberg's out of mana. He has to flash away as Doxy continues to chase it. Gets stunned up underneath the tower. The shockwave goes wide. But Riddle find their kills bot lane. It's a 2 for none.
Just ends up being an overcommit onto the Thresh. And in concept, it looks like a good play. You're like, we can't punish the Ezreal, the Thresh is more vulnerable, but bear in mind that you have the Cannon Barrage and the TP available to Doxy and Senkux. You don't have your TPs on your side. It was always going to backfire, and in this situation, not find it.
Ericsson looking for the kill onto Senkux. Senkux doesn't have ult, but remember, Nolty's coming in. They've got the Lantern, though, and Senkux gets away with a sliver of health. Actually, do look for the hook on to Nolty. Nolty's Sky Splitter shield will keep him up for the moment, as Mumus will take 8 turret in the top side in response. And this mid lane now under siege, under fire. Senkux very, very low, has to be careful. Still has a lot of wave clear from a distance, and Riddle are able to hold out as Doxy now chasing onto Mumus. Just going to get a grasp-empowered Q off.
And it ends up favoring Riddle there, because they get the kills on the bot lane, they get the tower, they manage to defend mid. Yes, they lose that tower top side, but ultimately, again, we have these scale elements of Riddle that are picking up gold. And I think Nordavind just weren't playing around the TPs, weren't playing around the global pressure. There was no Paranoia available then. The TP disadvantage was a thing. Now, we are going to see Mumus's and Ericsson's TP come available sooner than that of Doxy and Senkux, so that is when they can really look to make a play and potentially punish the side of Riddle.
Earlier on in the game, we were questioning whether or not this power bot lane for Crisberg and Bebop was a power bot lane. A lot of comfort for them, and so far it's been a pretty good show. I have to hold that as Wendelbow hands a hook onto Ericsson. Ericsson uses the ultimate, gets chased underneath his tower. Maxi secures the kill with the Paranoia.
That's the strength of the Nocturne. Very hard for the Azir to escape it, and that's actually pretty big considering how safe that champion is. Ericsson gets taken down, and they can look to siege up this mid tower that normally is a bit of a brick wall in the mid lane when you're up against Nazir.
Crisberg gotta hold his ultimate. Probably could have cleared the wave out, but also does make him a bit of a standing target to be shockwaved. So they step away, and this looks like it is going to be Riddle's first dragon. It is the Infernal. Although they are hunting for blood here. Half health onto the dragon. Nolty does have himself the ultimate to clear the wall if he wants to. Decides not to, though. And Riddle do get away scot-free from the play.
As they force them down towards bot side. And Nordavind were never going to get that dragon. They win there in time. But they force them towards the bot side of the map. They do get to grab this nice big wave. But they essentially sacrifice the mid tower. So as much as Nordavind couldn't contest the dragon, they at least get something out of this scenario. They managed to equalize in terms of the mid towers. And yes, they're still behind. But at least they are willing to take a down trade when you're at this point, you have to at least get something in return.
All right, well, 17 minutes on the clock. The gold lead is just shy of 1,000. Oh, just over 1,000, mine. Sorry.
That's this
Triforce in the building for Rai. Chrisberg just based and got himself a BF sword, so building towards that second big crit item in the Infinity Edge for himself. Got the Essence Reaver. So this top lane is scary for Mummus right now. Doxy got the Triforce finished up, so he clears through these waves nice and fast. Got the Fist as well, so building towards Hysterics.
And my concern in this situation is how much value are you really going to get from the bullet time from Chrisberg? Because realistically, which targets are you going to be hitting? It's unlikely you're going to be able to hit the Ezreal at any point unless Rai's really mispositioned. Senkux might be an option if you find an engage onto him. But I just feel like it's unlikely you're going to be hitting multiple people in a situation unless Riddle have really misplayed the fight. And that's one of my concerns for these team fights going on. Whereas with the side of Riddle, all they need to do is just take targets one at a time, dive on individual members, potentially threaten the Azir. But if anyone starts to push forward from Nordavind, like the Wukong or the Volley Bear, they can just kite it back very effectively and shut them down.
Oh, Doxy got a good shove here in the top side. In the bot lane, sorry, as he pretty how-handedly wins that trade versus Mummus. Shockwave used into Ericsson. Ericsson is able to dodge away. Flashes in the piece, and Ericsson actually does get chunked out by a quick dissonance.
Showing the safety of Azir there. A lot of champions hard really to punish, but you can see this 1-3-1 from Riddle really devastating, and the Nocturne plays into it so well. Oh, Engage coming in.
Yeah, Wonderbow actually getting jumped onto. The Paranoia has been used. They're looking for their opening onto an 80 carry or a high priority target, but Paranoia was just enough to scare them off, and Senkux will be able to take down this tier 2 in the top lane. So it does get finished up from the earlier charge. Doxy got a massive shove here into Mummus. No ultimate available to Nolty. But Doxy still playing respect. Now Rai actually could get caught out here. The hook goes wide, and Chrisberg just finds himself an easy kill. Wendelboe now gets a 2-man hook back as Chrisberg has to flash away. Pretty low on HP, gets a big crit, throws out the bullet time, and that's the double kill. Picked up onto the Orianna. Mummus now here on the flank, and Nordavind have just turned this play around. Double Cyclone goes out, and only Doxy remains.
And that's perfect timing. Baron spawning now. They have an Azir. They have the sustained auto attack damage from Mummus and Nolty. They're just going to be able to take this one. And Riddle, who are doing so well, had this beautiful 1-3-1 with Maxi floating in between. We see a little overstep from Wendelboe, and instantly the game is just thrown back towards Nordavind. They're going to take this Baron. They'll get them a gold lead. And with a minute 30 on the next dragon, this could be Nordavind finding a really good spot in the game.
That's Baron Nashor picked up. 20 minutes on the clock. The gold is now dead even. Let's have a little look at that mid lane play again, though.
And it's just, I mean, you have a lot of safety on Ezreal, but you can't be disrespectful with it. They overstep, and then Chrisberg and Beaver Bully get a kill. Senkux does manage to go for that trade at the end because he knew it was going to go down, but already the TP was in from Mummus. Really nice from him. He gets the flank, and that's the power of the Wukong. Sure, is it going to deal with the gangplank in the side lane? No. But when it gets onto the back line, it can be such a massive threat.
Incredibly impactful. Now, Ericsson will erect the tower in the mid lane to make sure that they can slow down any shove onto them. They do have that Baron buff as the hook lands onto Nolty. Nolty actually gets chunked out. Half his health gone. 40 seconds until the second Infernal spawns up, and Riddle might just be looking to get it. Equalize out on the Drake score here.
Yeah, there was time there for Nolty to go for the reset, but unfortunately with him off the map, they're unable to push forward and contest his vision. If you actually look towards the river and the dragon area, there's a lot of vision established for the side of Riddle. You can see the control ward set up in a triangle here. Makes it very hard for Nordavind to step up.
Hook goes a little bit wide by Wonderboy there. Both teams seem to be playing with bated breath. I do want to quickly highlight the vision towards the dragon area. It's all Riddle favored. And it means they feel comfortable just to step back when Nulti charges forward into the darkness, into their own territory. Maxi started up this Infernal Drake, and it looks like Nordavind, though, they want to fight here. They want to contest. This should just be them jumping in. Who's going to secure? It's stolen away by Nordavind as the Cyclone has been used. Ericsson a little bit low. Riddle, they want to look for a fight here. The health bars are low. The True Shot Barrage will connect, and in goes Maxi, jumping into the fray. The bullet time will send a couple of members packing as Doxy misses out on all of those barrels. Nordavind steal the dragon and get away with it.
Yeah, and I mean, oh, wait, they're still looking.
Oh. Shockwave gets whiffed, and Wendelboe almost gets caught out. He has to use the box. Nulti continuing to go on the hunt a little bit here. Looking for a couple of members. Ericsson actually teleported into the mid lane. And now he's looking for a play. Actually goes for the Shurima Shuffle. Raya's down, and Chrisberg secures the kill.
They have the Baron as well, so they can just keep on pushing in this situation. They got the Dragon. They managed to get out, and now looking to turn it into a little bit more here. Wave coming in top. Very easily retransitioned into a tower there, and they'll take the entire topside jungle of Riddle right now.
Looks like Chrisberg's just going to go off the base. Ericsson should be able to pick this tower up for himself nice and easy. Gets out. Chrisberg actually cancels the base, and Riddle are going to force them out of the jungle. Doxy looking for that barrel. Looking for that pick.
You can't really catch it.
So hard to catch the MF. It's so hard to catch the Azir. So Riddle,
and the thing
can't
is,
get nothing from this.
They wasted so much time chasing there that they aren't doing anything on the rest of the map. They have a wave mid lane that's just killing the wave of Nordavind right in the middle of the map. They could have been pushing up. They could look to potentially at least crash a wave into mid, or maybe even threaten that tower, which is on low HP. So
yeah,
Riddle just chasing kills a little bit. And ultimately, Nordavind finding some good opportunities in the last few turn of play. They got that Baron. Yes, they didn't get a ton of structures with it, but ultimately they did manage to get the Dragon. You know, seeing them feel a little more comfortable and willing to punish the mistakes of Riddle.
They do still have that scaling you were talking about, though. Obviously, both teams scale, but you were highlighting that you think the Riddle lineup has some pretty decent scaling itself. Arguably a little bit stronger. You can see the gold difference over time on your screen right now. Very back and forth between these two teams, and it's really great to see. You know, all of our games so far have really delivered today.
Absolutely have. Been a lot of fights just to try and establish yourself in the league, get those extra wins, especially when in this group, both teams tied on the same score, and it's just very close between them. I think at the moment, looking across the items from Nordavind, Ericsson and Chrisberg both at pretty solid spikes. Obviously waiting for the Andrews to come in for Ericsson. A solid spot, but in fairness, Senkux, he's now got that stacked Seraphs, he's got the Spellbinder with the Triforce and the Manamune and Rai. Across the board, both teams working with a lot of power, and the gold lead only 1,500. Now, we do have a minute 15 on the Baron, 2 minutes on that Dragon, which would be Soul for Nordavind, and that could really push things in their favor, especially the scaling. Right now, I see Riddle trying to establish control around this area. The red side jungle, just north of that Baron.
Yes, very, very blue for Riddle. We can get a quick toggle on the vision over around that red side jungle. Thank you very much, Observer. Nordavind see very little. Let's see what Riddle see. They see a fair amount of this jungle, but if Nordavind don't fight them in the jungle, they may be able to pull something off here. Wendelboe gets stunned up as the bullet time goes down. That's the Skybreaker used by Nulti. Hook goes wide, and Wendelboe, he will just get stunned up by the concussive blows and taken down. But in goes Maxi looking for an assassination off onto the AD carry. Has to go golden in the middle of the fight as Mumus jumps in with a Cyclone to keep Chrisberg alive. Chrisberg finds a double kill. Ericsson gets a beautiful shuffle backwards, finds himself another kill, and Nulti just mops up. It's only one who stands. 4 for none in favor of Nordavind.
4 for 1 actually in the end with Bebop Bully going down, but ultimately Nordavind, they see an opportunity and they just charge for it. They force the fight, they're confident in their carries, and they manage to get off the engage. And really, Riddle felt like they weren't even sure they were fighting. Doxy only started channeling the teleport after Maxi had already dived in with a Paranoia. If you're gonna fight in that situation, Doxy should be channeling it, you should be committing as a team, and ultimately it was just messy. And I mean, we can watch it back. So Nulti's just running in here. He gets on top of Wendelboe. Still no TP from Doxy here. And then eventually the paranoia comes down, the darkness, and still we don't see the TP. It's only now that it comes in after Maxi's already dived in. So there's no way you're going to get a coordinated fight. You've already lost the Thresh. Maxi's already committed everything. Just very, very disjointed from Riddle. You really need someone to make the call. Are we letting Wendelbo die or are we fighting? And whoever does that, they need to be very decisive because you've just given over another Baron. Nordavind looking to start another fight.
Yeah, that's the paranoia used already. The stun goes onto Wendelbo. The bullet time's a little bit wide there. Paranoia putting the fear of God into them as Mumus jumps in with a Cyclone. Able to dodge away on the second one. Nordavind stepping up. They want to try and get this Infernal Drake for themselves. All of the blues getting used. Riddle used a lot there, but they still have that Shockwave. They still have that True Shot Barrage. Same for Nordavind, though. They've also burnt a fair amount of Summoner spells. Nulty hasn't actually got Smite currently, so he kind of wants to wait it out until that comes back off. Cooldown is up, and Mumus is the teleport. There's plenty of wards for him to come in on the flank. No Cyclone available, though. Dragon will be looking for a quick reset. Doxy throwing the barrels out. They've got that teleport. Mumus is coming in onto the flank. They find themselves their opening. They do get a shutdown already in the trade. The Dragon gets secured by Rai. A steal for the Ezreal. The shutdowns are getting picked up. And Riddle have just turned this game on its head. Another kill for Doxy as he finds himself a double.
So
Riddle.
many ways that could have gone wrong there. And we just see Nordavind. Just they don't get the Dragon. They don't get the fight. And it was all down to Rai on this Ezreal. Beautiful play from him. He finds an angle onto Ericsson. Senkux set a follow, using the shattered jungle walls to find a flank as an Ezreal. We'll see the replay here. And just watch Rai. He manages to essentially, well, he does. He just solo kills Ericsson. The ult steals the Dragon. And then there's nothing Chris can do. You have this Ezreal who's going so aggressive. And at this point, fight is already over. Just really beautiful from Rai in particular to find this sort of this breathing point for Riddle. They were being threatened by the Baron, they're being threatened by the Infernal Soul, and both of them have been wiped away from Nordavind.
Yeah, you can see that Rai's actually gone for the Blade the Rune King as his third item, not into the Death Stance, which is what we've been seeing a lot of recently. Obviously, it does give him a pretty nice power spike for that Death Stance, obviously making him safer, but the Blade the Rune King just gives him so much extra damage to work with. He's got that slow on the active, and
especially if you're threatening and hitting Nulty. If Nulty's charging forwards, it allows you to cut through him pretty effectively. Good dueling potential as well. I think ultimately the Death Stance is good if you're taking damage, but I mean, Rai didn't even get touched in that entire team fight, so I guess he's feeling pretty confident.
Doxy needs to be careful. Places that pink down. Doesn't have that cannon barrage, so I think he's quite okay just sacrificing a tier 1 turret. It's been up for a very long time, and now he'll step forward and try and clear out this wave. He's got the Essence Reaver. He's probably looking for an Infinity Edge at some point.
Cannon barrage has just come up now, so if the pressure does get too much, you can always just ult, but he's now just looking to allow his team to apply pressure mid. His tower's going to go down, but we should look towards top where Senkux is pressuring Mumus, and Mumus has not had a good game so far on this Wukong. Did get some nice
really rough go of it.
Yeah,
some of his team fighting has been pretty good in these later stages, but as a laner, he's had a very rough game.
5-0-4 on the Gangplank. And
yeah.
That's a really solid performance here from Doxy overall on the GP. Typically, we see GP more as a weak side pick, providing that utility for the team. But Maxi put pressure down. They gave him an influx on gold, and he's been super relevant super early on. One of those big scaling components who become monstrous in the later stages. And already level 17, highest in the game, got those 3 items and working towards another with like the GA.
Right, just playing a little chill here for the moment. Waiting for his team to kind of come out of those resets. Actually, it looks like we might see a GA as our next item for Doxy. He's got the stopwatch, got himself the chain vest.
I mean, it's going to be the same for him and Maxi. Both of them working towards that. And it allows them to sort of play more aggressive. There isn't really a great front line for Riddle in terms of they don't have a massive tank bear who can charge forwards, but they can survive a long time and function as bruisers with the GA and with things like Starix and the Black Cleaver. And that's essentially the role they want to do. But you notice that in the last team fight, it wasn't really a front-to-back situation, and it really helps out the side of Riddle, because if Azir stands back, he puts out a lot of DPS. If Misfortune could just channel an ult over the team of Riddle, that's great. But as soon as it's a split fight, you're not getting value out of that Wukong ultimate. You're not getting value out of that bullet time. And it means that Rai can just threaten. And it's very hard to challenge him because if you run at him, he's just going to arcane shift away. There's a lantern as well to provide that factor. I think that's really where Nordavind's finding the difficulty. But gotta say, they're still one dragon away from Infernal that spawns in a minute. Baron in 40 seconds. And they still do have the gold lead. So as much as the last fight went in favor of Riddle, still feels like anyone's game.
It's really, really anyone's game here. Nolty will take a little bit of damage. Riddle have got the vision control around the dragon area, though. A lot of red wards being placed down for the moment. So it'll be on... Sorry, it's Nordavind who's got control around that area. So Riddle, if they want to contest it, they do have to play a little careful as Bebop hops in forward. Rai's going to be able to catch this wave, though.
You can see the waves way in favor of Riddle. If you look up towards the top lane and bot lane, big waves stacking up against Nordavind. Nordavind, just they're so focused on grouping, it just means that that's going to be a problem. If a fight's won by Riddle, they have waves in place to push and crack the base open. And even if the fight isn't won, it's just waves being missed out by Nordavind. Split experience and gold being missed out on.
Dragon looks to spawn up. Wonderboy misses out on the hook. The vision's still pretty much in favor of Nordavind as Maxi will take a fair amount of damage from those Sand Soldiers and the Leandri's burn. The waves are shoving in, so Nordavind, they need to do this and get out quick. But Riddle, they want the fight. The paranoia is being used. 4k health. They're looking for one already. Maxi jumps into the pit as that's going to be Mumus with a massive cyclone. Maxi has to flash out of the pit. This could just be Soul picked up. The dragon is secured. This is Soul for the side of Nordavind. They've got the health bars. They've got the members to work with. In goes the Azir. Rise on the sidelines. Trying to fire over the walls, but he can't find it as the triple kill's been picked up for Chris Berg. Bebop will secure the next one. And Nordavind are just going to run it down the mid lane and try and crack open the base.
They're going to go for it, and you saw Nolty, Maxi trying to challenge him. He's level 16 on this bear. He's so tanky, he's just absorbing the towers. They get the soul, they get the push, and now they're looking to take the game as well. Rai, he's trying to contest, but you 1v4. I don't have much hope.
Going to be a very hard contest for him, but he's going to attempt it anyway. Nolty doing so much damage as Nolty actually may just get taken out. Rai does flash away, but the Nexus has been exposed. Rai is trying to make a miracle play happen here, but I just don't think he has the damage. They find the double kill. Chris Berg closes the game out, and Riddle fall to Nordavind.
Beautiful decisiveness there from Nordavind to take the opportunity to finish the game. They were committed to starting the dragon, and it meant that the side of Riddle had to funnel in, and they couldn't find any good angles. You know, we saw that previous fight around dragon. They found a great angle onto Ericsson, but ultimately there, Maxi committed to the dragon, and I think that was the mistake. When it's that late in the game, you need to focus on the fight because Baron is up and available, and you potentially could have just pushed to end the game. But instead, he uses his ult onto Nolty in the pit. Nolty had a 3-level advantage. He's a tanky bear. You're never going to win against him. And as soon as that happened, the rest of the team of Riddle tried to funnel in to help him, walking straight into the bullet time. And it just felt like, as much as they got the dragon, Nordavind were there for the fight. And they took it and they crushed it. Whereas Riddle were more focused on the dragon. And as a result, they lose the fight. And even if they got the soul, denied the soul, sorry, they still would have lost the game off the back of that.
It was a very close game up until that point, though, and a very back and forth battle of Norway here at the Northern League Championship. So I can't wait to hear what our analysts say about that. So with that, we are going to throw to a quick break, and when we're back, they'll be breaking the game back. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a second.
Sending letters to each other on some social network. When the much I could feel till I met you. It's like I'm seeing all the colors for the first time, and I'm hearing all the music for.
Ever wondered how you can beat the #1 team in your group? Ever wondered how you can pull the upset? Ever wondered how your team can race to the top? Well, let me tell you the secret right here. You call NLC.com, and then for 10.03 CS per minute, you can also get an ADC like Grisberg to carry you through the tough times.
All I'm saying is that 40 of those shockwaves very wide and
40,
may have
okay.
contributed to that game's impact.
I mean, if I want to bring the discussion down and settle it, I think that Nordavind, look, we were a bit questionable about Nordavind going into this game, but I feel like they actually pulled through. Yeah, okay, thank you. Now I know it is to how you guys deal with me. I know that feeling, but the thing is, I feel like we all had some questions going into the draft about Nordavind. Even you, Trouble, said that, oh God, well, I'm worried now. And I feel like that they actually were really pulled this together as a team. We already saw people bully from level 2 after they got a cheater recall. He was not going back to the bottom side. He was going up to help Nulty secure the scuttle. So Nulty from the beginning already got a lead against one of the threats over on Riddle, who's Maxi. And after that, they're actually just playing really well together as a team. Now, that happened, but Riddle is also a concern, because I'm just gonna have to give it to Nordavind. They really proved themselves to be the champions today, but Riddle, they also proved themselves to have a lot to work on here, because they are still having a solo queue mentality. I've no doubt they got individual skill, but to me, some of the calls they make, some of the ways they play, it's just so questionable.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a case that when you see Riddle in lane phase, that they're probably always going to look better, because it's kind of like paint by numbers in terms of League of Legends turn. When you're in the lane phase, it looks good. That replay on your screen, that didn't look that good. But when they start getting out on an open map and more of that teamwork needs to take over, that's where they really fell short. And that's kind of been like the consensus for them. They try to brute force, they have great individual players, but there was absolutely no team coordination or synergy. Whereas I was actually really impressed with how well this composition worked with like a misfortune, like having the ability to outrange an Orianna, but also then the fact that Orianna really wasn't hitting any of those shockwaves. I think that was one of the few that hit, and all it did was kill Braum.
And this is where I sort of praise the fact that if Nordavind choose to play around their ADC star player, it's not necessarily all about Grisberg. He knows how to keep himself alive, but being surrounded by a lot of factors and champions that can therefore prolong him staying healthy in these fights. Sure, Senkax did miss a lot of his ultimates, but also we cannot factor away from the fact that Grisberg played very cleverly around these fights. He didn't allow Senkax to get any of these ultimates down. Ericsson was also a big factor there with the Azir ultimate, keeping the Orianna further away. And I have to double down on the uncoordination right here. We saw one member after the other going down. After the fights were over, Maxi would dive in. Then after that, Maxi would dive in. Then you would call the teleport after your extremely fed gangplank that was never utilized on a side lane or in a team fight.
And just really quickly, yeah, I get it that Grisberg really showed up here, but I also feel the rest of the puzzle pieces on Nordavind are really showing up too. I think Ericsson has been one of the most consistent mid laners we've had too. I feel like he's just going under everyone's radar. He's never doing anything wrong. He's just there, consistent, ready to push out the side, ready to do his job. Same can be said for Nulty. I had questions about his Graves in the beginning coming into this split, but honestly, with the Wukong flexes he's been doing, with this Volibear performance today, he's really starting to get me on board the Nordavind train here.
Yeah, TP coordination, they won in all of the team fights. I think they were the better team on the day. And I think like my biggest takeaways is that both AD carries, Shrimp and Grisberg, how you say it? Grisberg,
yeah.
Grisberg. Super impressive. Was really fun to watch from both AD carries.
Speaking of Ericsson, I've actually got him standing by for an interview, so we can have a quick chat to Ericsson. And I think this is maybe like the third or fourth time I feel like I've chatted to Ericsson on the NLC here. You've been doing pretty well, mate. You've been doing pretty well. I want to open things up. Obviously, congratulations again, Nordavind going from strength to strength. You guys have looked fantastic. You might have had a lot of discussion on the desk about Chrisberg, and he's obviously a name within the Nordic region. People have known Chrisberg for a very long time. But do you think he maybe gets overlooked in kind of top tier AD carry discussions in the league? Because he's not a name that always crops up, but he's always had very solid performances. Do you think he's maybe overlooked sometimes when people are thinking about the top AD carries in our league?
So I think Chrisberg is for sure overlooked. I think probably because he had like a lot of not success on Nordavind last split, people might overlook him. But like, there's a reason we kept him. There's a reason he's on this roster, and yeah, he's here to prove that he's one of the best, if not the best.
I mean, that performance certainly looked good. And actually, a lot of the guys talk about when Chrisberg's on a team, they kind of say, oh, he's someone that you look to play around. Is that something that you do on Nordavind right now? Do you look to invest resources in Chrisberg?
I mean, I think he's for sure one of the most consistent players in the league. So I think like giving resources to Chrisberg is never a bad idea. But I think also like we are still really flexible, and it's mostly just draft dependent, like who we choose to play around. So yeah, we're keeping our cards open.
And actually, you kind of came on my radar the first time last split, and a lot of the discussion around you was how consistent you were and how like good you were, like even comparatively when you're on your team. So I think that discussion's been continued coming through to the NLC. You've obviously been one of the most consistent mid laners. Just again, like the guy said, quietly doing your job. But what are your goals? Like, what do you want to do with your future? You're building a very big profile around yourself as being an incredibly consistent and reliable mid laner. What goals do you have for yourself?
I mean, I think for sure being consistent is probably one of the most important things at an ERL level. So it's basically just keeping that consistency, and then from there just developing my other strengths as well. So yeah, I'm just looking to keep improving and keep getting better.
Obviously, I think you're doing a great job of it so far. And I kind of talked to you a little bit about your expectations for Nordavind. It's quite clear that people underrated you massively. And you're obviously having a great start to the split so far. Do you see yourself in top 4? Do you see yourself as real contenders for the title?
Yeah, so I think there's for sure like a clear top 4, and Riddle is definitely not one of them. It has been Nordavind that's in the top 4.
Yeah, and actually, I don't disagree. I think a lot of people thought Riddle, based on their roster initially, were top 4 material, but quite clearly, Nordavind have kind of shut that up. You guys have been a pleasure to watch over the last couple of weeks. Now, thank you so much, Ericsson. It's always great to talk to you. I'm certain I'm going to get to talk to you again in future weeks.
Yeah, like my other team members need to get a webcam or something, because yeah, it's getting it's a lot of interest. So that's fine. Yeah.
All right, we love to hear from you, mate. We love to hear from you. Thanks for chatting to us.
All right, see you guys.
Well, guys, I'm going to leave you on that bombshell.
Shots fired.
I know, but I love it. I love shots like that. That's what makes it interesting. People shouldn't take it personally, of course, but that is what makes for interesting discussion. And I think Nordavind, the stats speak for themselves. Trouble mentioning Chrisberg's stats, their win-loss record. Obviously, I think they're 4-0 in the league right now. So, like, I think it speaks for itself. I think it speaks for itself. Oh, they've lost once. Okay, sure. But it basically speaks for itself. They're obviously surpassing expectations. They're looking incredible. Right, guys, we've got one more game today. It is going to be a BTXL taking on Singularity. After the break, we'll dive into it.